Okay, so let's finish this tutorial. We will address the orientation of the connectors to always face the same direction, the metallic parts to be on the same side in one row. Okay, so the rotation actually will depend on the selection of the generation axis. So let's add combine XYZ vector, and let's actually transform or rotate the connectors based on a parameter. Okay, so let's test out the rotation. We had 90 degrees rotation on the z-axis, so let's enter it here, and we are in a wrong rotation. That's because when you use vector as an input for rotation, it actually uses radians. We had 90 degrees, which is half pi radians, and Blender can actually take some constants as an input. So if we write pi/2, we will have half pi, which is 90 degrees. So the z-axis is oriented now correctly, and we have to change just the y-axis. The z-axis we will not touch, so that will stay at 0. Okay, so let's actually test how it behaves if we rotate it by 90 degrees. Let's write pi/2. Okay, so if the user selects the z-axis as the direction of generation, that's actually need to be rotated by half pi. Okay, let's test the other axis. Okay, let's put 0 here. Let's orient it correctly. The ends. Okay, so now it actually doesn't need to be rotated, and let's test out the x-axis. Let's orient it again. Okay. Yeah, so for the x and y-axis, it actually doesn't have to be rotated at all, just for the z-axis. So we will use Boolean math to address this problem. So let's add a Boolean math. Okay, and so if it's oriented on x or on y-axis, so let's plug the two variables here, and we will select or. Okay, it has to do something, and to do something we'll use a switch node. So let's search for a switch node. Okay, so let's plug the result, the Boolean value, into the switch, and we will not use geometry, we will use float. So okay, let's reconnect the switch. Okay, so if the result is true, that means that it's oriented on x or on y. So if it's true, we don't need to rotate it at all. But if it's false, that means if it's on the z-axis, we need to rotate it by half pi. So let's write half pi, okay, and let's plug it into the y rotation. So nothing changed, that looks promising. Let's test it out. Okay, so we'll put it on the x-axis, let's rotate it. We have the metallic parts correctly. Yes, that's good, that looks good. And let's change it to z-axis. And we have them in the correct way. So this is actually all from the rotation, and let's just address one more thing to actually reduce the number of the nodes that we are using. When we created the instances on points for the connectors, we can actually remove them, and we can use the instances of points of the copper ends. So let's delete this section, which are the instances on points for the connectors. Let's delete them. Okay, and the way we will address it is we will join the geometry of the endpoints of the copper ends and of the connectors, and then we will feed the joint geometry as an instance into the instances of on points. So let's add the join geometry node. Okay, and we will join the top ones. Okay, separate the connections to the instances and feed the joint geometry into the instances. Okay, we have one end, and let's copy the joint geometry. And let's plug the connector and the copper end. Let's separate the connection and reconnect the instances. Okay, so now we have removed part of the nodes, and it looks a little bit lighter. Okay, you can actually spend a little bit more time by organizing the nodes, adding some frames to the layout like this. Okay, let's expand it. Okay, so now we have it like this. This is the part where we generate or where we align the connectors. This is the part where we generate and transform the copper ends. And this is the part where we generate our curve. So this is pretty much it. Let's keep it like this. You can spend, as I told you, you can spend a bit more time by reorganizing the nodes. It's not too complicated setup, so we can leave it like this. Okay, so let's switch to shading tab and let's see how our flat cables look like. Let's actually adjust them a little bit more because we have the original curve that we created was a little bit too big for this one, so let's actually fix the handles a little bit. They are too long. Okay, the other one as well. Okay, so here we are. We have the, let's fix actually the orientation as well a little bit. Okay, like this. Let's move it like this. Okay, so here we are. We're finished. Let's actually also modify the number of the strands. Yeah, so here we are. Let's move it farther. And so guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm looking forward to see you at our next project.